And here we have it, my third double dealer that I currently own. That is DX9's Vasili. It is actually a heck of a surprise that we now have another Legends scale DX9 figure. I seriously thought they were done. I mean, granted, when actually handling this figure, it's like, oh, this is just Magic Square, and they're calling it DX9 because it uses Magic Square plastic. Anyone who's handled Magic Square figures knows what Magic Square plastic feels like. No other Legends scale figures use it, at least as far as I've experienced or am aware, and this is very much like this plastic has that same feel. Not to say that it's bad. I don't mind Magic Square plastic in certain contexts. I feel like it works perfectly fine with their Stunticon team, which admittedly it's a little bit different than the norm there, but I don't mind it with other ones either. Like I have their original release of Ultra Magnus, not the one that like shoehorned power armor onto White Optimus Prime, but like an actual, truck plus trailer becomes robot thing. And like that, it's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. And here I think it works because it's kind of, at least to me, this feels a little bit more in line with the Stunticons, where it's a little bit more, let's say, solid. Like it doesn't feel quite as malleable, but I also understand why it's malleable because of the way certain things transform on this guy. Point is, I like it very much. This is the vehicle mode, as you can see, and it's the missile truck. And I gotta say, it's got its drawbacks. There's a lot of, stuff happening. Like these panels here are just here to cover up this gappage happening here. Like there's no, there's a lot of like, okay, that's how they decided to do that going on here. But I do understand why they did it in a lot of cases. And also I have to say one thing that this has over the Fans Hobby version, Double Agent, is that you can actually tilt the missile a bit. It's not like it's not perfect, but you can do it. But yeah, this is a pretty, all things considered, pretty cohesive little missile truck. It rolls pretty well. You've got the yellow instead of red now on the rims, which I think works just fine. You also have the little like cockpit section here, though for some reason there's nothing that's painted or otherwise indicated as being windows along the front or the other side. It's just this side, which seems a little bit odd. It is what it is. It's kind of, all things considered, relatively plain, the vehicle mode, which it's fine. I mean, it's Legend scale. It's got a lot that it's got to do. I'm totally I'm just noting what I'm seeing. I'm not saying like, oh, this is terrible. But yeah, it's a little bit, whatever in the back. Missile stands out nicely because it's this big silver thing, and it's simple, but like the shape is there, the contours are there, the design for the most part is there, and I think it's a pretty worthwhile looking missile truck. And what is a double dealer without his Powermasters? And here we've got their version of Scar and Knock, and they are so small. So small. See if we can get Scar to stand up. They're so tiny. So tiny. Come on. It's just, trying to get them to stand up on this surface is a little bit tricky. Let's see if I can straighten your legs out, see if that helps. Okay. So, here is, wow, that's as far as I can zoom in, huh? So here is Knock and Scar, or Scar and Knock, and they're accessories. They're not even figures. They are not even glorified accessories. They're just straight up like target master. Like these are basically target masters in terms of articulation. They're super small, but it's cute that they're there. Like Knock is just a little robot man. The molding is there. There is some color differential to separate things out. You've got the little engine on the back, and he is what he is, and he can just sit. And Scar, same deal. You've got some differences with the color. He's got the wings, but he's also like a guy instead of just a regular bat. There's the engine on the back, and yeah, the only articulation you get is you can make them sit or fold their legs all the way up. Like I said, they're just target masters, basically. Very, very small target masters. Mechanically. Like, okay. There they are. And we'll pull in the Earthrise knock. Which, yeah. And also bring in Fans Hobby's version. Which is also, yeah. That is how small these fellows are. They even counting the wings, Scar doesn't come up to Earthrise Nock's knee. They are so small. And I think it's cute that they're here, but they kind of become a problem in the robot mode, which I'll get to more when we get to that. But yeah, you know, considering the sizes here, I feel like they actually are pretty neat. They're pointless ultimately, but I do think they're kind of neat. Like just the fact that they were able to get the right colors and shapes going, I think is cool. All right, let's get these fellows out of the way here. And let's start doing size comparisons. And this is going to be interesting because, as I said, Vasili is a legend scale figure, so he is very small. These guys are just... It's difficult to get them to stand up on a fabric surface, and also they're just tiny. So, yeah, make of that what you will. It's a little bit unfortunate, but it's not the worst thing. Why are you not spinning? Come on. Spin. There you go. Okay. So, there is our regular size comparisons. I mean, when all is said and done, Vasili is a little bit bigger than, you know, some other legend scale figures. I'll try and bring some in robot mode when we get there, but he's still pretty small. Not New Age Bumblebee small, but like this is, yeah, he's a tiny fellow. Oh, you out of the way here. And as always, got to do the most important size comparison last. So let's try and bring everybody back in here. You gonna behave yourself this time, Scar? All right, you can lean up against the truck. That's fine. All right. And there we have Vasili with the duck tank. And it is transformation time. Of course, before we do the transformation, just want to tell you all, if you like this video or any of the other videos that I've done and you want to support the channel, I do have Patreon, which there will be a link at the end of the video. There's also one down in the description. I only have a single $1 tier, but that $1 a month gets you early access to new videos, as well as access to the occasional Patreon-only video that I make. If you'd rather support the channel in ways that doesn't involve money, then you can always do the YouTube thing of like, comment, share, subscribe, that kind of thing. So now it is transformation time. So we're going to transform the Powermasters. Here is Scar. And as we've already discussed, the transformation is very simple. You just fold them up like that. And we'll go off to the side. Knock, same deal, just fold them in half. And then go off to the side. Now, I do like this figure. I like the transformation a lot, but it is involved. And there are a couple of instances where a tool is recommended, so there's that. But I want to take off the missile, and this is something I thought was actually really clever how they did this. You can actually see there's the robot head right in there, which is a little bit odd, but it's hidden well, and it's actually kind of accurate to where the head ends up in the original toy, just, you know, flipped around in the little earmuff things or what hold the missile in place. But what's clever is they've got this tab here that's what flips out, and it slots into this section here. And that's how the missile attaches. And what's also clever about that is as it slides down, you can see it covers up the robot face. So I don't know, I just think that's kind of cool. It's a clever approach to it. So I'm going to take that off, take the tire missile, put that off to the side. And now, okay. First thing, I'm going to take these flaps on the sides of the wheels here, just fold those down. They don't peg in or anything, but they do fold down. And now we're going to take these forearms and untab them, kind of. They don't tab in super well, but there is like a little tab in there that you can pop this out of. It just comes up. And now I'm going to rotate this shoulder up because this actually gives you the most clearance. And then just kind of leave that like that. So plug this, fold that up. There we go. And now I'm going to unplug this section here. The whole wheel section here unplugs from this gray bit in the center. And this I'm going to want to use a spudger for because it just tabs in really securely and the plastic flexes. So I want to kind of be careful about it. So untab that. And now this will swing up, and there's actually a little tab here that it's tapped into as well. So there you can kind of see the little tab. So bring that up and just out of the way. Same deal here. Unpeg that, untab that from there, bring it out of the way. Now you want to take these sections, which are the robot feet, or will become the robot feet, and just kind of rotate them up and back. There is a reason for that as well. There's a reason for all of it, obviously. Next, I'm going to take this gray piece here, lift that all the way out, take the wings, and they are organized in a very specific fashion. You want to take this side out first because there's actually a little notch on this wing here that strut sits in. So you want to fold this out first. Then this one will fold out, and it's actually on a multi-hinge system in here. So you want to kind of hinge that out and back like so, just to get all of that out of the way. Now, let's see, want to take this assembly in the middle here. This will become the robot, or this will kind of shrink down the robot waist. You want to hinge that in and all the way in like that. And that will kind of peg into place. Now comes the fun part. So you want to take the bird head, pull that out. And this is the tricky part. You have to get this, there's this little black panel in there, right in there, that you need to get out. And the only way I've been able to do it reliably is to use a flathead screwdriver, just kind of force it out. And even then, it takes some doing. Like it does not want to come out. And that is a thing that kind of stinks. There we go. There's like a little patch here. That stinks. I wish there was an easier way to do that. There might be, and I'm just not knowing what it is, but I just, Anyway, I'm going to take the head now and fold that into that cavity. And this is interesting. The head, actually, there's like a little tab here that actually tabs into the back of the head right up there. And that keeps the head from moving around in vehicle mode, which I think is actually pretty cool. But anyway, now that is all situated. You can take this flap and push that down to just kind of cover up the head for bird mode. Keep these folded in for now. And we want to bring these arms down, and with this rotated, you want to have this tab go in here. But in order to get that to work, what you actually want to do is pull down here to pull out this little slider and angle this up. And it can go up to 90 and it kind of clicks. You don't want to push it that far. If it clicks, it's wrong. So clip that back down and just kind of keep it up like that. And now, I should probably zoom in so you can see more of what I'm doing. Now you can bring this back down, and you want this to be all the way down. Then this can come down, and this will tab in right here. And just let the plastic do its thing. Let it all kind of situate itself. This is going to be a thing that I'm going to have to do off camera, isn't it? I forget that this specific tab, there we go. This one likes to fight. But there we go. Let's make sure that's all done. And this one, same deal. Rotate the forearms, slide that out and up, but not too far. Bring this down, bring this down, and tap this into the slot in there. This is supposed to be the easy one. There we go. Okay. So now that is all situated. Now we get to do the legs, and the legs are an interesting thing. So this section here is actually trying to adjust the light a little bit better here. So this section here is tabbed in there. I want to untab it and rotate this around 180 degrees. And this will kind of hinge out. Now, you can take this hinge here, hinge that out, and there's a little ball joint here for the bird foot. You just want to rotate the bird foot around 180 degrees and leave that like that. Next, let's get these wings kind of out of the way more. Next, going to bring this down. This actually rotates at the base here. So bring that down, bring this around, and now this panel here will actually, it's hard to see, but there's this little tab right there that will tab in to this spot right here. And getting them lined up can be a touch tricky, but it is doable. Just want to get that lined up, tap that in, there we go. And now the foot can come down. I want to rotate this back out like this and bring this down because you can see there's a little slot here that'll tab over there. You just want to line that up and peg that in. And this is also a little tricky because of how it all comes together, and you can like easily push this tab through that other section. But as you can see, it's worked. So there is that. There is bird leg. And then this side, same deal. Want to untab this from here and bring that around. Fold this whole thing out. Bring the little bird tootsies around 180 degrees. Bring all this down. Swing it in and line it up and tab it together with there. Get that all situated. And then bring the foot out and around and down and have it over that little panel there. And again, it is a little bit on the tricky side because of how it all, pardon me, because of how it all lines up. But it can be done. It has been done. I've done it a few times already. Just get in there. This is the one that likes to fight me. I do not appreciate that. But it can be done. Has been done. I did it right before I started recording. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now all of that is situated. Yeah. So now the wing struts can fold out to get out of the way. Also, yeah, the wings, can extend the wings by rotating them out here, rotating that around, and then just bring this down. And same deal here, rotate, rotate. There's nothing locking them in place, so you can over-rotate, but just for now, we'll get them out like that. Then this panel comes in, and these little bits on the back here will tab in here. And that locks the rest of the bird together. I kind of get things relatively lined up. It's so that the wings are kind of on the same level, same angle. And then lastly, these little bits on the back here rotate out. And I think the way they're supposed to go is you line this feather up with that line there, so that makes it look like a more cohesive wing. That's it. There we have the bird mode, and it is a thing. It's very odd. It doesn't balance super well because of how like far back the center of gravity is and all that, but yeah, for a legend scale double dealer, this is actually a pretty solid bird. He doesn't have like a fancy tail like the Fans Hobby version does, or the Earthrise one does with the little accessory bit that you attach to it, but I think that's totally fine. But it does look the part. The head is pretty decent too. The only thing that sucks about the head is it doesn't really have any rotation, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, I don't know. I like this. It's silly, but I like it. It even has a place for Scar. I wasn't sure about this at first, but while the vehicle mode didn't really have any place for the Powermasters, what you can actually do is there's this little tab right there, right behind the base of the neck for the robot mode. And there's this slot between the legs of both Nock and Scar. So you just line them up, which I'm not going to be able to show on camera, but you line them up and just peg that in. If I can get it lined up. I did this before. I know it works. There we go. Just got to feel it. But you line it up, and there, you've got the you've got Scar in place in the bird mode, and I like that. If you want to put Nock somewhere, all I've been able to figure out is you can kind of just toss him in that little cavity, and that gets him out of the way. But it's an option. I appreciate that you've got a place to store both of them in the Decepticon bird mode. On top of that, there is also the missile, which does have a way to store here too. It does kind of stink that I haven't been able to find a way to successfully split them and store them, because they do split, as you'd expect. But like, I don't really... Like, I thought I could do something with those tabs, but there's really nothing on the underside here for that to work. And you can't really do this. It just... Yeah, there's no real way for this to set... There's probably something I'm missing, but from what I've been able to find, this just doesn't go anywhere on its own, which is a bit of a shame. Like, there's just no place for it to tap. But if you keep these connected, what you can do is there are these little channels on either side of the missile here that can slide over these bits on the back here. So you line those up and slide it together, and that is how you can store the missile on the bird back. And there you go. There you go. It's a more typical double dealer thing, and I really like that. I just wish that there was a way to do the common thing of like split the gun and the missile and have them stored in separate places in the bird mode. Like I said, there's probably something that I'm missing. Even if you could just double stack them, that'd be cool. But yeah, I really don't know. I thought I could have sworn I figured something out when I first got this figure, and I just it's out of my head now, so I don't know. But still, this is pretty cool. And now, yes, the bird mode itself, it looks the part. He's got the giant purple wings, which I love. I also love how the wings completely get hidden in vehicle mode and robot mode. And yeah, it's cool. It's a mess, but this kind of mode usually is. You've got, wings, feet, bird head, and what looks like a very messed up missile truck for a body. It's double dealer. And that bird mode head also looks really nice. I like how it's more of a kind of flat and wide approach rather than like a tall and narrow type of head that we've seen on others, which I think is, because they did the transformation so differently, it allowed them to do something more proportionally odd or different, unique with the head. I like that you have a little bit of red for the eye, the orange for the beak. It's got this nice kind of robotic look to it. Of course it does. I don't know. I like this. I like that they did like the orange beak rather than giving it like the, more standard blue beak with a red lower mouth part. It just helps it stand out a little more. Articulation wise, though, you don't really get much. You got a double hinge, so you can hinge up and down like that. So you can look up and down, but that's kind of all you can do. There's no rotational joint in there, which really stinks. I really wish you could look back and forth or even just rotate his head, but you can't do that. Now the wings can kind of... you get some articulation with the wings. They do flap up and down to an extent. You can also kind of fold them down to get them out of the way. But that's kind of all you can do with the wings. Could be better. Get things lined up again. I still really wish that these bits kind of locked in place. And the legs do also have some articulation. There's the strut up there that connects down here, so you can get some kind of rotation and wiggle going on. You've got the hinge down here and the ball joint for the tootsies. So yeah, decently articulated for a double dealer bird mode, we'll say. And I don't know, I think it's neat. I really like, he's maybe not the cleanest double dealer bird mode, but I feel like it is better than the Earthrise one. And in addition to that, it's I don't know, there's just something cute about the way it comes together. Now, it is pretty much the same size as it was in vehicle mode, just with more of a wingspan. So there that is. There he is with a Deluxe. You can see how that all works out. And yeah, there is all of that. So there's one thing I forgot to do. We will do that after we do our most important of size comparisons, though. So there is you, bring you in more, and there we go. There we've got Vasili with the duck tank. So yeah, it occurs to me that I did forget to do one comparison. Let's get Scar out of there. There we go. And slide this out. Get Knock out of there. Just untap that from there. Dump them out. Okay. You can stay there. So yeah, we'll do, since they're both the same size, pretty much, we'll do Knock and Scar together. There they are with Earthrise, Knock, and Fans Hobby's version of Knock. Yeah, they're so small. so small. Okay, now for the robot mode transformation, going to split the missile. And there is actually a little handle down here that you just flip out. And that will give you the gun mode handle for robot mode. This can all go off to the side. And now all of this stuff gets re and de-transformed. So I'm going to unplug this section, bring that out, bring the wings as back and out as we can for now, and also fold these little bits in just to get that out of the way. There we go. Now we're going to undo all this. So rotate this back around and put that back, convert those back where they were for vehicle mode. I'm going to untab the robot mode toe from the panel there, and just kind of keep that back and out of the way. Untab this from what will become the shoulder, bring this around, and keep this, I believe we actually keep it like this. Could be wrong, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So Untab this and bring that back. Untab this and just kind of straighten that out, bring it off to the side. Untab what will become the forearms from there. Now we're going to hinge this up, bring this back down, and slide it back in place. Rotate this and straighten out the that arm. And this piece will open up, and there we've got a fist. Just bring out the fist, close that up, and there we go. There is one of the arms transformed. We're going to keep it curled up for now, just to keep it out of the way. So same deal here. Bring that up, bring that down, and slide it back into place. Rotate, fold up, open up, and bring out the hand, and then close that back up. There's a very specific reason why we're keeping these up. So now I want to hinge this joint. There's this, there's a good angle so you can see it. There's a joint here. You want to hinge this up. And after you hinge it up 90 degrees, you actually want to slide it down like so. That will get the arm into position. Same deal here. Rotate that up and then slide it down or forward, as you know, we're looking at it from like the robot orientation perspective. So there is all of that. Now I'm going to separate the legs, just one part like that, and these pieces you kind of want to, these are a little bit trickier to untab, but they do untab. Untab all of that. That gets that started. Now, I want to untab. This is very kind of tricky to do. What I sometimes end up doing is there's little hip skirts on the sides here. I try to move them out because they can block the outward motion of the hips. So by moving those out, it gives you a little bit more leeway to kind of bring the legs out, which you kind of need to get the clearance to open this panel up. Tabs in right in there. And open that up and swing this whole thing down like that, and then bring the leg out like so. Now, this whole assembly rotates down and around, and then this settles into the leg like that. This comes back around and closes up right in there. Now this, I want to take this piece and rotate it 180 degrees, and this all comes down, and it there's like a tab here, right there, a little tab there that tabs into that slot there. So bring that down and tab that in. Swing the foot back into position, and then there's like a little slider here, so it's up to you how you want to position it. You can slide it out, you can slide it in. I prefer the slid out look because I just think it lines up a little better. But with that done, now you can rotate the leg 90 degrees, and that gives you one leg. Same deal here, and it's a little bit easier now that this can be out of the way. So I want to untab this from here, and it actually, this tab slides this way. You don't pull down this way, you slide that way. So slide that out, open that up, rotate that all the way around. We'll just rotate the leg now. Bring this down, rotate this around, and then leave that so that we can deal with this. So bring this, swing that around like so, and then bring it up. Bring this up and in, bring this back around and tab that into place. Pull this back in and tab that down, swing this up, and slide foot out more, and there we go. There are both of the legs. Pretty simple, all things considered. Now, with the wings still, or with the arms still up, I'm going to bring the wings out a little bit more because we want the clearance to deal with all of this. This is actually gonna just unplug this again, because in order to rotate this whole assembly around, we need to move these little midriff pieces. These actually tab into little slots on the assembly here. You can see there's like a little tab. It's very hard to see, but there's a little tab right there. This little tab here goes into a little slot right in there, and that keeps this whole bird head, robot head assembly from rotating. So I have to rotate that out. Same deal here. Rotate that out. Now we can pull this back. I'm zoomed in a little too close. Rotate back the robot mode head. Once again, grab the screwdriver to get this little thingy out of the way. And now the bird head folds back in along with that panel. And now we can rotate this whole assembly all the way around and kind of keep that down and out of the way. This panel can fold in. Forgot about that. The panel folds down over the bird head. And then, there we go. Rotate that the rest of the way around. For now, we'll rotate the robot head around. And there we go. Now, these panels on the sides here, they come in, and what they actually do, you want to kind of futz with this so that it lines up, but these will slot into these little grooves on the side here, as well as there's like a slot here that'll tab over, or that'll settle over this tab here. So get that lined up, and tab that into place. There you go. And with one side lined up, but the other side should be pretty easy. Just rotate that around, tab that in, and we'll collapse the waist back down and tap that into place. Yeah, well, there we go. It actually does click into place. Tab that in. And now this is why we wanted to have the arms up, because it gives you all the clearance you need to like get the wings on their little struts out of the way as you're doing all this. So now we can bring the wings back, and again, you want to start with this wing because this side has that little strut that sits inside a little notch on this one. So you want to bring this back, hinge this whole assembly down, fold this in, and then rotate this in on both of those bits so that you can bring this around. Make sure this hinge is like tucked into the side as tight as it can go. Pull that back around, and get that all lined up like that. This was leaned back a little bit, so I just kind of angled that forward to get that to flip into place. Swing this in, and there is the little notch that little strut goes over. Bring that in, rotate that down, rotate that around, and then this entire backpack section comes down and covers up the wings. There's little notches on both sides that will go over these little tabs on the back of the shoulder assembly. And that clips all that together. And that, at its most basic, is Vasili in his robot mode. And it's an involved transformation. No lie there. It's definitely an involved transformation, but I don't know, it's cool. I can't argue with the results, and I really don't mind the transformation at all. It's just kind of, it is what it is. But like the double dealer we're left with is pretty solid for such a tiny fellow. Like his proportions are a little bit odd. He's like, I want to say like 60% leg. Like there is a lot of leg here. His knees are up very, very high. Kind of, yeah, you can kind of use that as a knee, which does look better than going by the upper one, but it also gives you a double knee option. But yeah, it's weirdly proportioned a bit in the lower body, but I really don't mind it because it's just a legend scale double dealer, and it's actually pretty cool. The transformation is not bad. It's more involved than I probably would like for a figure of this size, but it's not hateful or anything like that. It's not, it's not as, like, Magic Square has this thing, like, I had that problem with their Devastator, which I no longer have, where the individual figures look great in all the different modes, but like getting between them was such a pain because they're trying to cram such involved and detailed engineering into something that's like this big, or I guess this big. But it was just so frustrating to try and do, and this, I think, toes that line a little bit better. It rides the line between being unnecessarily obnoxious and fiddly and, understandable and accessible. Like, I was able to do the transformation from memory with very little problem. I did need to do a refresher before I shot this video, but it wasn't like, having to stop and think and look up a video or something like that. It wasn't something I was dreading doing. And you end up with a pretty clean double dealer. Like, the wings hide, the nice backpack covers everything up. The proportions are a little wonky, but like the colors are really great. It's got that really nice dark green for the shins and feet and shoulders, the gray for the center body, black for the forearms, turquoise for the thighs and the chest. And like, it hits all the right notes. It is cool. He's also got a cavity right there in his tummy. And of course, the reason for that is that's where you can plug Knock. And much like before, there is a little tab there that the slot between, or a gap between the legs, can tap into. And you just get that lined up, plug it in, and there you go. Now Double Dealer has Knock in his tummy, and he looks spot on. And this is one of my big problems with this figure. It's not huge, but it is a problem. Once you plug the Powermaster in, you don't get waist articulation. It's just, you can't do it. Because the Powermaster sits inside, like half of it is sitting in the waist section below the waist, and the other half is sitting in the upper body above the waist. So you can't get any waist articulation. But it's silly because there is waist rotation there. Like, they built waist rotation into this thing, but plugging the Powermaster in makes it not work. And that's such a strange way to do it. Like, I really don't like that. Also, when you've got the backpack closed off, these little tab things sit right on the sides of this piece. So, like, even without the Powermaster in there, if you keep the backpack in place, you only get, like, that much rotation before this stuff's whacking into other stuff, and it's just... I don't understand why they designed it this way. It's so weird and so not great. So, yeah, I will mention the waist articulation when we go over articulation, but for the rest of the video, I'm just going to act like he doesn't have it, because he technically doesn't if you want to have that plugged in. Yeah, with that plugged in, he looks great. You can also, of course, if you want, plug in Scar instead, and it's the same deal. Just line up the tab with the little gap thing, and there you go. Of course, I prefer the look of having this guy in there. It's just not quite as busy with the wings sticking out, and it just looks more, normal, I guess, for him. But yeah, it's a cool design. I do like it. Now the head is double dealer-y. It is very, very double dealer-y. And what I really like about this is it retains the G1 Toys head aesthetic, but reinterprets it. As opposed to like Phantom's Hobby and Earthrise, where the little Mickey Mouse ears were, that's what the missile's being held for, so they got rid of those in the helmet design. Here it retains those design cues, which I think I like that. I like how it sets it apart. It does look a little bit silly, but it's nowhere near as pronounced as it is on the G1 toy. And I think it looks cool. It's an interesting kind of reinterpretation of how that would incorporate into the helmet design. There's some nice paint going on with the gray face and the blue eyes for some reason. I thought it could be misremembering, but I think it's supposed to be like red eyes. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking because the blue face has red eyes at least. That is another thing that I'm a little disappointed about with this. I kind of wish that they gave him the blue face with the red eyes. There is no option to switch faces. He doesn't come with an alternate face or an alternate head, so that's a little disappointing. But the sculpt is nice, the coloring is nice. It's just not, classic double dealer in that regard. Now for the articulation, as you saw, the head is on a ball joint, so you get some side-to-side tilt. You can get, because of the ball joint stock combination for the neck, you can get a lot of up and okay down, and it can rotate 360 degrees. The arms can rotate all the way around. They can go out that far. You also have, because of the transformation, there's like this ball joint tucked in here, so you've got some wiggle here, which I kind of don't like. I don't like how this can settle in like that, but it can't go further than this because of how that ball joint is arranged, so at least there's that. But that ball joint gives you bicep swivel. The elbow can bend up way past 90, which is nice. The fists or hands are on a ball joint connector, so you kind of get a little bit of waggle in there, but not much. But it does allow you to do wrist rotations, which is very nice. As I mentioned, the waist is kind of a mess. I don't understand why they did it the way they did. There's even a joint engineered in there for like a waist and ab crunch, but you can't use it in robot mode. Like if you disconnect this and you pull this back, you can do the full waist rotation, but like you can't use the ab crunch. It doesn't work because of how this all comes together. If you unplug this, you can kind of use it then, kind of, but like you have to de-transform it to get a waist an ab crunch. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. There's this extra joint in here, right in here, that allows it to bend there. And that's not for the transformation. That's just straight up there for some reason. I don't know. So like, were they trying to give it a waist, an ab crunch, and just couldn't figure out how to make it work? I don't know what the point. I just don't know what was going on with this thing, design-wise. I'm fine with no ab crunch. I really don't care. But it is disappointing to me how the waist is functionally useless once you put in one of the Powermasters. That is disappointing. Not enough to make me dislike the figure. I love the figure, but like, it's just, why did they design it that way? Yeah, maybe it's just like a size thing. Like they couldn't make this any smaller. I don't know. But anyway, for the legs, you do kind of want to mess with these hip skirts because, as I mentioned before transformation, these hip skirts can end up on the inside behind this like hip section, and that makes it just, it will not come out if you do that. So you want to make sure to flare those out a bit. But you can, with the hip skirt out of the way, you can get the leg out about that far, which isn't great. But if you swing it forward, nope. Okay, never mind. I thought if you swung it forward it made a difference, but it does not. So yeah, that's as far out as the leg goes. Could be better, but it's not the worst. Unfortunately, this is as far back as the hip can go. It cannot rotate back any further because it's another one of those hips where the swivel point is more towards the front, which allows it to move forward a lot more than 90, which is good. But because it swivels in like an odd position, you just can't swivel back at all, which is a shame. But it is what it is. And as you can see, the hip skirt piece kind of comes, front hip kind of comes with it, which gives it plenty of room to go forward, which I do think is cool. I like that design. It's just, it kind of sucks that the leg can't go back any further. You do get a thigh rotation. You also get a knee bend up there that can go to 90, but if you want to incorporate that transformation joint, you can get a much deeper knee bend. So that's cool. And also, if you want, I mean, the thigh swivel accomplishes a lot. Like this can, at a pretty close, like it's an A stance. It's not straight up and down, but like that's an A stance. You can swivel almost 90 degrees outward. But if that's not enough, you also get swivel technically below and technically above the knee, depending on how you look at it. So plenty of posability there. And then for the feet, you can kind of manipulate the toe a little bit, but primarily you just get an ankle tilt. But what's interesting is they also built in a completely unnecessary joint back here, where there's no function for this other than presumably for the foot, but you can rotate this out. And like that gives you a more, I guess, full foot tilt by using the ankle piece, but you kind of don't really need it, because if you don't use this, let's put that back in. If you don't use it, it's not like he can't stand when you're using the ankle tilts. So it's another thing that's just kind of like, why was that in there? Because that little joint does not have any purpose for either the vehicle or bird mode. So it's purely for the robot mode. It's also weirdly stiff and difficult to get pegged back into place once you move it, but it's doable. But it's just kind of, I don't know, maybe it's like a like what was it? Planet X's Caicus, where it was like more of an aesthetic thing, because like that, it's not really necessary for stability. But whatever. It's how they decided to design it. It's a thing, like, it's not essential to anything. I didn't even realize it was there at first, so it's like you don't have to touch it. You can completely ignore that back ankle thing if you'd rather do that. So yeah, it's a nothing thing. It's a non-issue, but it's just weird that it's there. Now, as for the rest of this, you can of course hit him up with his usual stuff. There's a little peg hole on the missile and a little peg up there. You just peg those together, very snug. You can peg those together, and then there's also a little hinge for that little peg section that allows you to hinge the missile up a bit, which is much appreciated. The gun just pegs into the hand, as these things tend to do. It is a little bit snug, but it does go in. Now, for Scar, or whatever this version of Scar is called, he does not have an easy place to store in robot mode. He's not going to fit in that backpack because of the wings, but he actually comes packaged in a way that I think they intend to show you, like, oh yeah, this is how you can store this guy in robot mode. There's this gap on the underside of the gun here that the feet can actually fit into. And if you can line it up just right, I can never remember if it's feet forward or feet towards the back, but if you line it up just right, you can actually put Scar into the rifle for like storage purposes. And I am not getting this to work. This is how I had him displayed, so I know it's doable. I just have to... There we go. So yeah, you just kind of wedge him in there. Just have the hinge is kind of wedged inside of, like, in between these little struts here, and the feet are tucked just inside there. And that, it stores him. It beefs up the gun from this angle a little bit. It doesn't really look terribly out of place, I don't think. So yeah, it is a way to store Scar so that you don't misplace him, which I think is great. It's really disappointing that you don't really, like, you can get a teeny bit of waist swivel when you have knock plugged in, but like that's That's all you're getting. And that is a shame. But anyway, there we go. There is Vasili as a robot, and as has been established, he is a bit of a short fellow. Here we have our regular size comparisons. Here, and Burnout, Samus. So yeah, he is shorter than a deluxe, taller than a core, but he's Legends-ish scale. So I think that tracks. And what I actually want to do is I should have thought to get things ready before this, but I don't put any effort into these videos anymore, right? But I wanted to bring in a few other size comparisons. So let's grab a couple of things off the shelf while I'm thinking about it. We'll grab you, and we will grab you. Oh, jeez. And you. And I need to grab a Magic Square fellow as well, so we can do something a little bit in line with, one of his more or less contemporaries. Yeah, we'll grab you. Okay. So, compared to the Magic Square figure I was talking about before, here he is with was it Transportation Captain? Or no, not Transportation Captain, like Transporter, I think. They're Ultra Magnus. And that is a pretty comparable size. I mean, this guy is way simpler than this guy, but it's also not a triple changer. But yeah, that's pretty close in terms of height, not scale, just height. And then get him out of the way, bring in a New Age figure. Here he is with New Age's version of Megatron. That is that one specifically is the Comic Colors one. But yeah, there is that. I still need to make a video on this Megatron, actually. Have not taken the time. Primarily because he comes with so many accessories that I just don't care about going over. But I don't want to not go over them at the same time because they're kind of necessary. They're not really necessary, but like I feel like people would want to see all the different things that he comes with. I don't know. But anyway, get him out of the way and bring in one of the other double dealers I've been talking about. Here he is with Earthrise Double Dealer. Let's zoom out a bit so you can actually see them. There we go. So yeah, here is Vasili with Earthrise Double Dealer, and you can see that like the darker greenish, like the darker bluish greens for the arms and legs here are much darker than here, but you still have that color separation. And for the biggest double dealer, here he is with Fans Hobbies Double Agent. Ooh, boy. Okay. Let's bring this back a bit and up a bit to better show the two of them off together. So yeah, as I've said many times, Legend scale, so it stands to reason that it's going to be... Get my expletive-laden mug out of the shot there. But yeah, here's the two of them together. And again, like, totally different aesthetics in a lot of ways, but like still hitting the same notes. I really just wish that they had done the blue face on him. That is my one, like, visual design gripe, really, that I have with this guy. That and the windows for the cockpit section, or whatever you want to call it, only being on one side. I feel like that was a missed opportunity to not have painted windows on at least one other side. Like maybe not the sides, but like at least do a little bit on the front, you know. But But they didn't. Anyway, with all that out of the way, we can now move on to the thing that y'all really wanted to see. So here is DX9, I guess. DX9's Vasili with the duck tank. And that is going to do it for DX9's Vasili, their version of Double Dealer, their Legend scale Double Dealer. And, you know, this guy is definitely a little fiddly in places, has some engineering drawbacks because of the size, has some other strange drawbacks because of the design. Like the waist thing, like I said, it doesn't ruin the figure for me, but it's just a very big, like, what were they thinking kind of moment. Just like, why even have the waist swivel in there in the first place if it's not necessary for any of the transformation and he can't move it when things are plugged in? It's weird. But that is enough of that. That's what I think of this guy and his various modes. What do you all think of this guy? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Thank you everybody for watching, and before anyone says it, yes, I know, you can do the thing. If you really want to, you can bring out the wings. I'm just going to do it on this wing because it's the easiest one to manipulate right now. It's because of the double hinge here, but if you really want to, you actually can bring the wings out in robot mode. So you could do that, which is cool. I appreciate the fact that that's a possibility. It's not my preferred thing, but still, it's cool that you can do it. It's a little evocative of the Fans Hobby one, but I don't think it was because of Fans Hobby that they did it. This is something that I feel like a lot of people wish the G1 original could do. But yeah, that is it for Vasili. Let me know your thoughts, etc. Thank you all, and your guess is as good as mine as to what the next video is going to be.